Good morning, everyone. It's Sunday, June 14th. Congressman Seth Moulton is our guest this morning. Let's go on the record. He's run for president, never got off the ground, but nothing is stopping his push for a fourth term on Capitol Hill, from the coronavirus response to the protests against systemic racism, where he stands on the major issues of this day. Let's go on the record.
From WCVB Channel 5, the inside word from Washington to Beacon Hill. Today's newsmakers are going on the record.
Thanks for joining us on OTR this morning. I'm Ed Harding, along with News Center 5's political reporter Janet Wu. We are now in phase 2 of the state's economic reopening from the COVID-19 pandemic, and here at WCVB, we continue to follow social distancing protocols, making the most of our large studio, and our guest is Congressman Seth Moulton. He is now with us here in Needham. He joins us from his campaign headquarters in Salem, seeking his fourth term as the representative from the state's 6th congressional district. Great to have you with us, Congressman. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for being with us, Congressman.
Yeah, good to be back.
Thank you for being with us. Let's start with the debate over police brutality. Where do you stand on defunding police departments, and how much specifically should budgets be cut, do you think?
Well, you know, Adrienne Walker had a good column in the Globe this week about what exactly that call means. We clearly need to reallocate some resources. I mean, it's very much akin to looking at how much money we give our military as opposed to the State Department to prevent conflicts before the military has to end them. So we do need to reallocate money. We also need to look carefully at just how the police are doing their jobs. What is the culture that police have with their communities? Because for all the different measures we can take, restricting chokeholds, restricting the use of military weapons, ultimately it comes back to whether police are there to just be law enforcers or whether they're truly there to protect and serve our communities.
Some small cities like Camden, New Jersey, a few years ago completely wiped out their departments and they rebuilt. Do you support that concept from perhaps some communities?
Well, it may be necessary in some communities if you need to change the culture that dramatically. And everything really right now needs to be on the table. The evidence is too stark that there is a problem and it's not going away. I mean, I just felt sick watching that video of George Floyd get murdered by a police officer in the streets of Minneapolis. And yet the last time I felt sick because an unarmed black man was killed was like 2 weeks before that with Ahmaud Arbery. So this is a problem that has gone on for decades. We're just seeing it now all the time because we have cell phone cameras, but don't think that this hasn't been a problem for really probably hundreds of years in the history of our country. It's time we finally put an end to it.
Congressman, let me drill down a little bit. Some police departments do have high-powered firearms, and some have military-style vehicles. As a military man yourself, should these departments have this type of equipment? Should a police department in the United States have that type of equipment?
I mean, look, when I see cops on TV wearing more heavily armed in our American streets than we often were on patrol in Iraq, in the middle of a war, you've really got to ask some questions. Now, I understand that there is the occasional need for, say, assault rifles because, unfortunately, in a country with as crazy gun laws as we have, there are criminals who have assault rifles too. The bottom line is our police are too heavily armed in the streets, and we need to put more restrictions on that weaponry. But I don't want anyone to think that just by restricting military weaponry, we're going to end this problem. I mean, you don't need an assault rifle to kill someone.
Let's shift the conversation to D.C. House leadership there has a police reform package that will prohibit chokeholds, make it easier to cite officers for misconduct, and create a national registry to track all police misconduct. Are you on board with all of this and all the other things that are on in this package right now?
I'm actually an original co-sponsor of the bill. These are some of the reforms that we have to take, and they're an important step in the right direction. But you know, some interesting evidence came out over the past couple weeks in New York where there's an effort to ban chokeholds. It turns out they were banned before. So the point again is that it's not enough just to pass new regulations and new training. We truly need to change the culture of policing in America and the relationship that police departments have with the communities that they're here to serve. That's the key point.
In order to do many of these reforms, however, it's going to take a lot of money, and there's going to be resistance, at least at the White House, if not in the Senate. How do you overcome that?
You overcome it by beating Mitch McConnell in the Senate. And that's why I'm spending so much of my time right now making sure that we win back the Senate. I'm supporting veterans and servant leaders across the country through my Serve America organization who are in a position to win seats that we need to take back control of the Senate, and of course support Vice President Biden's push to take over the White House from Donald Trump. So that's why politics is so important right now, because the fact of the matter is that we'll pass reforms in the House, many of which will not get through the Republican-controlled Senate or will be vetoed by President Trump. November is incredibly important for the future of the country and the future of this effort to reform police.
Congressman, the police issue was an important issue. The other major issue on the front burner now is the pandemic. So let's start with Governor Baker's plan. Do you think Governor Baker's plan to reopen Massachusetts in the phases that it is being reopened is going far enough, fast enough?
No, I think he's striking the right balance. And look, this is difficult. This is really hard. I know how frustrated people are that we don't have an exact date for when everything is going to open up. I want to know, when can I go to the beach? When can I use the pool? You know, exactly when am I going to go back to work? Now, the reality is we have to evolve the plan as the virus evolves, as the pandemic spreads, and make sure that we're tailoring it to the conditions of the moment. That's what the governor's plan does. So I think that at the beginning, the governor didn't move quite quickly enough to shut things down. I mean, I was telling constituents to social distance, to shut down schools and everything before those orders came out statewide. But right now, I think the governor is being very cautious, opening up, and that's exactly what we need to do.
And some states in the union are seeing spikes in cases as they have reopened quicker than Massachusetts did.
That's exactly right. I mean, the fact of the matter is that this virus is not going away with the summer sun. We all want to go out and have the summer that we all dream of, but it's just not going to happen this year. And we've got to get used to that, because we cannot afford to have fun at the expense of more people's lives.
On the other hand, President Trump says the pandemic is over and he's holding a rally this week. Do you think this is going to contribute to what many people are saying is already a second wave?
Yes, of course it will. I mean, when Trump holds rallies and doesn't even have people wear face masks, doesn't practice social distancing, and all it is a political goal of re-electing the president, that's not serving the country. That's not doing the right thing for America from the Oval Office. Now, that's very different than people out fighting for civil rights, fighting for our basic constitutional values by protesting in the streets. If you look at these protesters, they're peaceful, and most of them are wearing masks to make sure that they are safe. Look, we could find out that these large protests have an effect on the pandemic as well. But the protests are necessary right now to uphold our constitutional values. Political rallies for the president, they are not necessary.
I was just going to ask you that question because while you may see a lot of the protesters with masks on, I see many of them without. If it turns out that there is going to be sort of kickback from these rallies and more people getting sick, would you say they need to be canceled?
I would say that people need to wear masks. People need to be careful and safe. But I am never going to stifle protest in our country. I mean, we are a country that was literally founded by dissenters, by people who were willing to stand up for the values that are so important to all of us. And that patriotic duty is exactly what you're seeing right now in the streets of America.
And Congressman, let me ask you, since this is, you were just mentioning, it's a presidential election year, and in November we're going to elect a president. There are conventions somewhere in the calendar in front of us. Who knows when they are and where they're going to be, and who knows what they're going to look like. But should there be conventions, given the climate, given the pandemic, should there be conventions?
Well, you know, in this case, I would follow Massachusetts' lead and see what the conditions are like when those dates actually come up. If we were to hold a convention this weekend, I would say no. It's too early. We don't have the pandemic under control. I mean, let's not forget the fact that we got to this place because the administration was so unbelievably slow in reacting to the evidence that we now know the president had since November that this pandemic was going to be a major problem. That slow reaction continues. We do not have enough personal protective equipment, the PPE that we always talk about. We don't have enough testing going on. I wrote a letter to the vice president back in March saying we need more testing. He still has not delivered. So we have a long way to go before we get this pandemic under control. And until that time, we're going to have to restrict large gatherings, including political conventions.